and welcome to the Author Roundup, a special segment of the Book Connection Show where we meet up and coming indie authors and talk to them about their recently released books. Hello, and welcome to the Author Roundup. I'm Jenny, and today we're about to press start on a fresh new way to think about personal growth. Our guest, Johnny Lam, is an entrepreneur who's lived with ADHD his whole life. Through daily mindfulness and self discovery, he found the tools to thrive. And now he's on a mission to help others find balance, joy, and self mastery. His book, You Are Player One in the Game of Life, invites readers to see life through a gamer's lens. At its core, it's a book about living with intention. With inspiration from Krishnamurti's teachings and a whole lot of lived experience, Johnny brings a light-hearted, game-inspired system to the serious work of managing stress, breaking habits, and staying focused in a noisy world. He'll show us how to treat meltdowns like game overs, challenges like boss fights, and daily tasks like side quests on the path to inner peace. It's not just about productivity, it's about playfully navigating the emotional terrain of life with clarity and compassion. Let's all welcome Johnny Lam. Hi, Johnny.
Hi.
It's great to have you on the show. I'm so excited to talk to you. Tell us about your book. What inspired you to merge the worlds of gaming, ADHD, and Krishnamurti's philosophy?
Well, thank you for having me, and Jenny. And also, I think I need to tell a story first, right? So, my ADHD story actually began from my son. I actually didn't know I had ADHD until one day his school tested him. There were certain issues, and then they brought me in, and then, oh, by the way, your son might be tested for ADHD. And then I thought that, oh, okay, interesting. But at that moment of time, I didn't really know what ADHD was. So I started researching it, and then I found out that actually ADHD is hereditary, right? So then I got myself tested, and then, hey, I have ADHD too. So that was actually a couple years ago. And before that, I actually didn't really know what ADHD was, and I didn't know that I had it. So, but I felt different from other people. Certain things that other people felt so easy to do, like just like going to school or doing homework, like felt really really challenging for me. And the moment I realized that my life was becoming very challenging, I actually sought after things like meditation and mindfulness, and I happened to stumble upon this teacher, or he doesn't like to be called that, but he's a guru of sorts. That his name is J. Krishnamurti, and basically I found him on YouTube, and a lot of things really resonated with me and what he was saying, and it really helped me to deal with what I was feeling in my life. And then after that, so that's how I dealt with my issues with my life with Krishnamurti. And then the way that gaming came into it was actually me applying his knowledge for something that I could understand on a day-to-day basis, because I was a gamer. And at that moment of time, there was this game called Elden Ring that just came out, and it was a hit. It was all over the place. And then I was actually reflecting in when I was playing Elden Ring, how much it felt like real life. And actually then a lot of the Krishnamurti, these teachings then became very apparent, that if I compared myself to an avatar or a player in the game, a lot of the things made sense, like boss fights, and like just how do you play the game of life, without being too attached to it. So that's how kind of the global picture of how I merge gaming, ADHD, and Krishnamurti into my book.
I see. So it's very interesting. Like you said, games or, it's very close to what's actually happening in real life. And you
Mm,
also mentioned, Johnny, that your ADHD diagnosis kind of came a little late into your life,
yes.
right? So, tell us how that diagnosis about ADHD
Mm,
shifted your understanding of yourself. So you were already an adult when you realized that or when you were told that you had that
yes.
ADHD. So how did that influence your approach to personal growth?
Well, I think I stopped blaming myself for a lot of the things that I just couldn't do, and I realized that instead of like working towards the things that I was just not good at, I should just embrace what I have and do the things that I'm really good at. So there's a lot of traits where ADHD brings into, like, in terms of like personality, or in terms of the way that we actually think about things. So, for example, actually, there's a lot of entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Leonardo da Vinci. A lot of these guys have ADHD because I think it's a prerequisite to be able to be an entrepreneur, because you're constantly in the wild, you're constantly hunting, you're constantly fearful for your next meal, whether it's going to come. So it's kind of that hunter mentality, which I think that a lot of ADHD people would have if you were a hunter, because just imagine you're outside, you're hunting for your tribe, and then you have to be on alert all the time. Your senses are completely open, and that's why ADHD tend to be very sensitive. We tend to know the story before it ends. We tend to pick up on very, very subtle changes in mood, changes in behavior, and things like that, all very relevant to what you need to do when you're out hunting. So I think that understanding of what ADHD was really changed my perspective on how I engaged with my life.
Mhm. And I bet it helped you understand yourself a little bit better, right? Like how you do things differently from
Yes.
those around you. Yeah. So this time, as a gamer, how did the gamer's mindset, how can it help someone approach daily challenges differently than
Mm.
traditional self-help advice?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Because I feel that in today's age, right, we're surrounded by like everywhere is media, everywhere is tech, and I think that a lot of people can relate to games, right? Because I believe that everyone at this point under probably like 75 has probably played a game in their life or another, right? Like and I think especially for the younger generation, which are the people that I'm trying to reach out to, I think that because that's a very good way to bridge a gap, from trying to make them understand about very serious issues like psychology, ADHD, very, very serious issues, and making them understand it in a way that's very relatable, right? In a game, because I believe that all of them have gone through boss fights. All of them have spawned before. All of them have like talked to NPCs, and so I think that understanding of gamer and of a serious topic, I think that gels very well together. And to me, it actually, like, when I first started writing the book, it was very difficult for me. But the moment I just like mapped it out just like a game, and then everything made so much sense. So that's I think that's the way that the gamer's mindset will change, versus a classic self-help book.
Mhm. Yeah. So you mentioned about the concept of no save data. Why is letting go of mental loops so important?
Well, I think I can give, for example, a very simple example, right? Like, let's say me and my friend got into an argument, and it might be just like something really ridiculous, right? And I keep that in my heart like throughout the entire night, and oh, he's so bad, he's wrong, he's this, he's that, and then and then the next morning I still cling on to that mental loop, right? Right, that fight, of that situation. Maybe the next morning, he's coming over. Actually, he felt really bad, and he wanted to apologize. But then the moment he sees my face, and I'm stuck in that mental loop, like it's not going to be a pretty face, right? So I'm going to show all that anguish when he sees at me, and when he looks at that, he's going to feel that anguish, and then he might get pissed off too. So to me, that's just one example of a mental loop where you're constantly, like, it's not really an issue, but having the alternative whereby, let's say you let go of that mental loop, right? And then the next day you met him, and then let's say you let bygones be bygones. You saw him, and then you had a smile on your face, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, man? I felt really bad about last night," and then things go on, things move on, and everything is better. So and that's just a very small example of how mental loops can really destroy relationships and really bring a lot of unhappiness to your life.
Agree. It's a lot easier to sleep as well if you let go of
Yeah.
these things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you also compare emotional challenges to boss fights.
Yep.
How has that metaphor helped you personally deal with difficult emotions?
So I think when I think about emotions, it's always best described like in a river, right? So when you're in a river of emotions, you're inside the river whereby you're just controlled by the river. You're being washed downstream, and you have no control of anything, right? You're just being washed downstream by your emotions. However, my alternative is, how about, yes, you're still at a river, but instead of in the river, you're on the side of the bank of the river while you're actually watching the river without actually responding to it. Therefore, you're not in the river. So to me, I think it's very important to start like labeling, right? Like, oh, what am I feeling? And what and being very detailed about exactly the observation of the emotion, right? So the way that it relates to a boss fight, it's exactly the same, because when you go into a boss fight and then you die for the first time, and what you die, it's not a fruitless death, right? You pick up on, okay, how what his movements are, right?
Right.
How
Yeah.
does he attack? What
Mhm.
his timings are? What does he throw at me? And things like that. So when you go in for the second fight, you're armed with all that knowledge and all that information, and then you get better. Then maybe you won't kill him the second time, but maybe the 156th time. But you learn and you go along the way. So to me, that's the same with emotions, where you start to getting very detailed about it, and then you start labeling it, and you start like dissecting it. And the moment you start doing that, and then you ask yourself, oh wow, I'm not angry anymore,
Right.
or I'm not sad anymore, or and then you can take it to the next level, whereby try forcing yourself to be angry, like, okay, let's try to be more angrier, and you realize you can't. So then you realize that you are in control, and not your emotions. And I think that having always a very calm mind in any situation is always very important for your decision making.
That's a very positive way of looking at emotional challenges. And I love how you compared it to boss fights. Because you see, I think in a game, there will always be boss fights, right? Like, there will always be boss fights to advance to the next level and all that. So I think when you compare it to emotional challenges, it really works if you look at it that way, because you can't avoid emotional challenges in life,
No,
right? There will
no,
always be challenges that will come your way. So like you've said, you just need to understand things better, and then perhaps you'll be able to conquer those challenges a lot faster this time. Just like,
yes,
you know, defeating the boss in, fewer tries, like you've said. Yeah, that's a very
exactly.
positive way of looking at it. And
Thank you.
in your book, Johnny, you also did mention that you also touched on Krishnamurti's teachings. How did you
Yeah.
first encounter Krishnamurti, and what about his philosophy resonated with you?
I think when I first encountered Krishnamurti, I was really heavy into like understanding very spiritual things and like going down like meditative routes to help me deal with a lot of the emotions. And because like I was really troubled, like I had, because of ADHD. And I didn't know what it was back then, but I had a very bad temper, and I would react to things very little things that didn't really make any sense at all, so I was very irrational. So I knew that I needed to have a way to calm myself down, and actually through mindfulness and meditation that really helped me. But the problem was is that you can't meditate like all the time, right? So during the day things would come up. So what I needed was a deeper philosophy of life rather than just temporary band-aids. So when I first started going through, actually, I went to from like Sadhguru to a lot of different types of internet, and I love that we live in a world that we have all this information at our fingertips, right? So I stumbled upon Krishnamurti, and the thing that really resonated with me the most was his um, his calling for being present in the moment. And there's nothing more important than that. And which I agree, because a lot of times we get stuck like over a mistake in the past, and we also get stuck in a worrying about the future, that we are never ever in the present moment giving it our best, because that is actually the one that matters, right? So we're so focused on the things that don't matter at all, and things that we cannot change. But what he resonated with me most was like, you have to be in the present moment, and the moment you are in the present moment, giving the present moment your fullest attention, that's when you actually live life, right? And to me it's kind of like the cure of everything, right? But easier said than done. Therefore I think the whole gamification of his thoughts help me understand his teachings a lot better.
Hmm, I see. So, which chapter or exercise from your book has made the biggest difference in your daily life?
Well, I think chapter two, right? Because it's always about, again, being in the present moment
Mhm.
and having like mindful checkpoints to make sure that, from time to time I do check in with my body. I do check in with my, so I split it up into health points and mana points, where health points is my physical health, where how do I feel physically, right? And mana points or magic points is given to how do I feel in my head, like psychologically up there. So to me, like by being a bit more aware about those feelings and the relationship of those feelings, because I think it's symbiotic, right? Because you have to have mind and body
Yes.
synchronized. If either one is off, the other one is also off the tangent or in pain. So to me, I think always being mindful of that and being in the present moment, that's the most important thing.
Mhm. How do you handle setbacks or tough days using your respawn framework?
Yeah, I think a lot of times is understanding that that things will there will always be mistakes. There will always be issues. There will always be fights. So at the end of the day, it's very important to just check in with yourself, and calm down and understand at that present moment what you actually need. Like for example, like once you take once you take note of what you want, you re-equip yourself, and then you restart. That's the only thing you can do, and focusing on those little steps really help because it drives you forward rather than in that constant mental loop. So at least you have a path to follow, even though you're very confused. It's just like, just imagine you're in a very dark jungle, right? But all you have is a rope that it's in your hands, and all you have to do is trust it and slowly pull it. Then hopefully you reach your destination.
When it comes to relationships this time, how can your approach improve relationships, especially when there's conflict or miscommunication?
Yes. So as I said, I think earlier in the interview, I feel that a lot of times relationships get bad because of the grudges, because of the memory, because of all the hate that we hold inside of us. But we have to realize that basically, um, that's all within us. That hate, that hurt, that thing, it doesn't cause anyone else to feel that, so only we feel it, right? So ask yourself this question: why are you torturing yourself when you know that even if you hate your enemy and you really hate him in your brain, the only person that you're hurting is actually yourself.
Right. So we just have to get rid of all those, well, probably we can call them like baggage and it's weighing us down, right?
Yes.
I see. So, Johnny, let's go back to your experience, or let's talk about your experience as an author this time.
Mm.
How long did it take you to finish your book? And perhaps you can share to us some of the highs and lows of the writing process?
Yeah. Okay. So it took me about 18 months to finish the book. 6 months to really like think about it, plan it, to actually understand what I really wanted to write about, and about a year of every single day writing to actually get it out. I would say the highs is definitely finishing it because it was a journey, and it's my first journey, and yeah, it was just something that I wanted to challenge myself, that hey, like I really wanted to do this, and I wanted to see whether I could do it, right? That those were the highs finishing the book. The lows were just the everyday grind, getting the motivation to just get in there and start writing, because you give yourself a thousand and one excuses not to, but I think the only way to do it is to write every day, because if you like, let's say you just say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna write every Thursday of every week," you're not gonna finish the book.
Was writing a book part of your plan in life? Like, did you see when you were younger, did you see yourself writing a book perhaps, or has this always been one of your dreams?
No, I think well, I would say that like it wasn't a bucket list of mine originally, right? However, I wanted to also uh, kind of like show my son, right? That because like I actually, the reason why I wrote the book too was actually I got tired of keeping having to tell him over and over and over again. So now I can just say, go read the book, you know?
Right,
So
right.
so to me, I thought that hey, like besides like of course writing the book for him, um it would also good to show him that hey, you know what, if you put your mind to it, you're capable of anything. So it's kind of like a life lesson for him too, that if you want to do something, just do it.
Right. It's a very good example for your son. A very
Thank
good
you.
legacy as well. So I know writing and publishing a book is not easy. Like you've said, it took you 18 months, right? Aside from finishing the book as the most rewarding, tell us more about the difficult parts of your journey as an author.
Well, I think the most difficult part is actually understanding what you're trying to write, know what your topic is about, right? I mean, it's all very easy, nice and easy now that the book is out, but before that, it really came to me as a question, right? Okay, I thought that this would be a cool topic to write about, but how do you execute it, right? So I think that part was much more difficult than I even ever comprehended. Was how to come up with the concept to create the structure of the book, right? But I think it was rewarded because I spent so much time like on the structure that the moment I found the right way to think about it, everything just came easily. You know, all the chapters came very easily. The moment you have the direction and the moment you have the concept. So, yeah, I would say that was the one of the most difficult parts of my journey.
Mm, I see. What advice now can you give to someone working on their first book?
Well, I think the best advice that I would give anyone right now is just never give up. Um, and I think it's really about breaking it up into tiny baby steps, you know, and not really thinking about the end goal because you will get mental fatigue very, very quickly if you keep thinking, oh, I need to write 230 pages. I'm on page one, you know. So if you keep thinking about, oh, you know, how far you have to go, and that just gives your mind a lot more ammo to tell yourself not to do it, right? However, if you're just focused on, you know what, I don't care how much I write, I don't care what I write, I'm just gonna write every day, right? So actually, you know, there's this tool that was I think that really helped me with my author's journey, which is this thing called the Remarkable Two. It's this like tablet where when it's an electronic tablet that you can write on, it feels like paper. It's amazing, and because of that, I think it really made me write it every single day because um, it was just I made it easy for myself, you know. So what you want to do is try to take away all the things and all the obstacles that you think will hinder you from writing. Yeah.
Mm, right. And just find the motivation to write.
Yes.
Like you said, I like how you said that it's a lot of baby steps or tiny
Yes.
steps. You have to start somewhere. And
Yes.
Johnny, your book has been out for it's very new, just a month or so.
Yep.
What was the most meaningful feedback or review that you've received about your book?
So because it's a book about psychology and ADHD and things like that, so actually I wanted a licensed professional to take a look at it first before I because I didn't know whether, you know, I'm telling people good things or bad things or am I like the last thing I want to do is harm people, right? To in a
Yeah.
way that oh, you know, because of your book, you made me want to go commit crime or something, you know. So I sent it out to a few of very like psychologists where they
Mhm.
were very knowledgeable about ADHD and um, every review was great, and the best thing that they said was like they really liked the way that the concepts were, of course, like not 100%. I didn't invent I didn't I didn't invent the wheel, right? But the way that I put it down to gamification, they said that they have never seen any book like that, like talk about how you deal with everyday life and the issues in a very um, easy way of
Mhm.
games, you know, and they thought that was very refreshing.
Right. I agree. So what's next for you and your book? Is there
Yes,
a sequel
so
perhaps?
yes, actually, you know what? The moment I finished my first one, I started on my second one. Just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, it's going to be about family. So, to me, uh, just like actually, it's also according to Krishnamurti's philosophy, right? First, you fix yourself. Then, the moment you fix yourself, you become a good human being. Then, the next thing you do is you make your family into that type of harmonious unit, right? And then, the next book, I'm really gonna start talking a lot more about family relationships, and sometimes even like how do you deal with like toxic people in your lives, and the dynamics of husband and wife, um, siblings, children, because I think basically creating that same type of understanding and that approach, and if you apply it to the things that you just go through, right? The arguments you have with your husband, the arguments you have with your child, and apply those teachings to that, then you realize that you can create a more harmonious family.
I agree. So we're looking forward to that. Something to
Thank
look
you.
forward to from you, Johnny. So, Johnny, if life truly is a game, what's your ultimate message to fellow players?
Yes, so my ultimate message is everyone should realize that they are the consciousness behind the avatar that's in the game of life. They have to understand that a lot of the things that are happening to them in that avatar is 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 just part of the game. And in order to be able to detach yourself from that avatar and really understand that we are the true consciousness behind that, I think it's a very different way that we can approach life. A lot of the things, seeing it from a third party point of view helps us to understand like the issues that if you're involved, just like the river example that I told you about. You can't observe yourself if you're inside the river and you're being drowned and you're being carried by the river downstream. The only way to do that is if you're observing the river from the bank, from the side, as like a third party. So to me, that is actually the most important takeaway, to really be able to take yourself out of a situation,
Mhm.
and understand that whatever is happening to you is only temporary, and whatever you have, actually the consciousness behind you is the only thing that is permanent.
That's truly inspiring, Johnny. Finally, please invite everyone tuned in to visit your website, follow you on social media, and of course, get a copy of your book.
Yeah, so I have a website. It's www.yourplayer1.com. One is the numerical one, so that's what we could get. And I also have a TikTok account, which is basically you are player one, but this one it's a spelled out one, ONE. So www.yourplayer1 numerical.com, and the TikTok account is you are player ONE. That's it.
Thank you, Johnny, for such a thoughtful and energizing conversation, one that turns the often overwhelming journey of personal growth into something that feels like a creative adventure. So, if you'd like to explore this new mindset, one that transforms pressure into play and challenges into opportunities, or simply be reminded that understanding ourselves is the first step to transforming the world around us, be sure to get a copy of Johnny Lamb's new book, You Are Player One in the Game of Life. It's available in hardcover, softcover, and ebook formats at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Partridge Publishing's online bookstore, and other resellers. Here's to all of us leveling up one mindful moment at a time. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. Until the next episode.